What's going on, YouTube and Facebook? Happy Monday to everybody. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the biggest reasons why you're probably not going to get probation. But we're going to give you guys all a few minutes to join in here before we jump into it. We'll go ahead and don't forget, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Also like the channel, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to text the word YouTube to 76626, and it will put you on our text notification system so you won't miss any of the videos when we go live or any of the pre-recorded videos that we do. I got a podcast coming on Friday. I did an interview with a gentleman. Well, he interviewed me on a podcast, which is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to not really tell you guys too much about it until it comes out on Friday, and I'll probably share it on the channel to bring you guys up to speed. Hope you guys are all having a decent Monday evening. It's about 9:30 East Coast time. It's going to be a smooth flight. We don't expect too much turbulence, in case John Goff is watching. But we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to join us. It is about 9:28, so we're actually a couple minutes early. But like I said, yes, tonight we're talking about the biggest reasons why you're probably not going to get probation. And many of you, I know you're dying for probation. There's nobody that I know that is either getting ready to go to federal prison or has gone to, or prison in general, forget feds or state, doesn't matter. There's nobody that I know that wasn't begging and hoping and praying to get probation or, like home confinement. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I decided to give Tom Root the night off. You guys notice it's me solo tonight, but we do have a cup of coffee to join us, keep me entertained in case you guys don't join in on the chats. Let's see, it looks like we got a comment going. Hey, what's up, Daniel? We got Daniel from New Jersey. Welcome. Thanks for joining, my man. And guys, don't forget, even though Tom Root's not here, if you guys do want to either get a consultation for compassionate release or get a consultation with just me for getting ready to potentially serve a prison sentence and finding out what you can do to possibly shorten your sentence or maybe not go to prison at all. There's consultations in there for both of those. You can also, in the description of the video, we have the consultation links in the description of the video as well. We are going to be starting a separate Facebook page, a members only Facebook page, which it might be a page that is going to be designed for a membership, just because we're going to have a lot of content in there that we don't normally share with a lot of individuals. Hey, Casey, what's going on, my man? Casey Parker in the house. Hey, D, how are you? Glad you guys could join us. So yes, tonight, it's 9:30. We're about ready to kind of kick it off here. The biggest reason why many of you probably won't get probation. And the reason why I decided to do this video, we were going to do another Monday night motivation, which I think all the videos are slightly motivational. Susan, yes, I will get you a link to Tom's newsletter, but you can definitely go over to Tom's channel. If you just Google Legal Lisa Info, you'll find Tom's channel, Tom's website, and you can get his contact information off there. The newsletter is really designed for people that are in the prison system. I don't think he sends it out to regular people. I think he just sends it through core links. So I'm not sure if you can get on it from the outside. You might have to be on the inside, which is usually the opposite. So yes, today I was talking to an individual on a consultation. Hey, James, how are you, my man? I was talking to an individual on a consultation that started off the call with, Dan, I'm not sure what I should do. I have a federally appointed attorney. I'm thinking about hiring an attorney. He's looking at a minimum mandatory 10 years. I think it was methamphetamine distribution of a decent amount. So he's got a minimum mandatory he's facing. His attorney hasn't spoken to him yet about safety valve. And after talking to him a little bit, he may not qualify for safety valve, which might be the reason. He's been offered a plea deal. He hasn't signed it yet. And he's thinking about maybe hiring a private federal attorney. And he's being quoted somewhere around $7,500. Now, those of you that have gone through this or going through this, if you have an appointed attorney and you're thinking about hiring a private attorney, you really want to ask yourself what it is you're trying to achieve. And we all know, like deep down inside, we don't want to go to prison. But it doesn't always work that way. And if you're going to hire a private attorney, you need to really find out, are you going to be getting something different from that private attorney than what you're already getting from your appointed attorney? Many of us don't believe that our appointed attorneys are going to carry as much weight or as much value as a private attorney. And in some cases, that might be the truth. But most cases, from what I've seen at least, and from other consultants that I've spoken to and other defendants that I've spoken to that have gone through the system, 50-50, I would say you're seeing about the same outcome with a private attorney or an appointed attorney. So if a private attorney is willing to only charge you, $5,000, $7,000, I don't know if you're going to get really a whole lot more bang for your buck versus what you'd be getting for not paying anything. That money may be better spent in other areas, maybe prepping for commissary, hiring a prison consultant. No, seriously. And we talk about this all the time. A good prison consultant and a halfway decent attorney can really go a long way, because knowing how to hold your attorney accountable, the right questions to ask, not finding out things at the last minute, knowing how to prepare for your PSR. These are all of the game-changing things that can really make massive difference in the type of outcome you're potentially going to receive. So if you're looking for the best possible outcome and receiving the best possible situation and the best possible sentence, it all comes with preparation from what you're doing right now. The reason why I say most of you are not going to get probation and most of you are not going to get home confinement is for the simple fact that, just like the guy I spoke to on the phone today, he said to me, I'm the poster boy for pretrial release. I said, well, what do you mean? And for those of you that don't know what pretrial release is, it's kind of like you're out on bond, basically. You haven't taken your plea deal yet. You're not sentenced yet. You're just kind of waiting. You've been indicted, or you're under indictment, or you're pre-indictment, and you're kind of out there waiting, and pretrial supervising you. He said, well, I'm the poster boy for pretrial. I haven't been in any trouble. I've been on this thing for almost a year. What do you think the chances are of the judge coming down? I was like, well, in your case, you're the minimum mandatory. So unless you qualify for safety valve, probably zero chances. But for most of you that don't have safety valve, you think just because you're staying out of trouble, and you think because you're doing the right thing now, maybe you're going to work, you're doing the basics, you're thinking that's enough. Many of you are under the thought process of, well, most people are out there still doing drugs, and it's not like I killed anybody. I didn't rob anybody. You're comparing yourselves to individuals that are in a completely different league than you. If you really look at it and you think about it this way, that there's absolutely nothing special about you, the judge isn't going to look at you and go, this poor guy or this poor woman, unless you're 90 years old and you've got cancer and you've got some crazy situation going on. But for most of you, there's nothing unique about your situation. Just because you're relatively a first-time offender or you haven't been in trouble in a really long time, you're out on pretrial right now, it was nonviolent crime, there was no guns involved, there was no violence. You're thinking that these things are somehow going to make this major difference. The difference in what that makes is what your guideline range is going to be. The difference that it's not going to make is it's not going to make the government all of a sudden want to go really easy on you and throw up probation on the table. I very rarely see the government offering probation or recommending probation when it's not within the guidelines. Even when I've seen it within the guideline range, we've seen the USA where they've asked for more than probation. They've asked for prison time, or they've asked for the high end of the guidelines. So just because you're doing the bare minimum and you're staying out of trouble and you're thinking to yourself that I'm not like everybody else, you're absolutely like everybody else. There's nothing special about your situation. So if you go into this knowing it, and I know it hits everybody at different areas of this process, but the sooner you can kind of comprehend that and say to yourself, okay, if that's really what it is, if there's absolutely nothing unique about me, I look like every other blank face coming in front of this judge, what can I do to increase my chances of receiving the best possible outcome? And that best possible outcome may be probation. That best possible outcome may be home confinement. That best possible outcome might be prison time, maybe a reduced sentence from the guideline range. Getting the judge to downward depart from your recommended guideline range, that's a victory in itself. Often we'll see clients that have a guideline range of, X to Y, whatever it might be. And we'll see the judge either go to the low end or below the minimal, the minimum side of the guideline range. And that's a victory. Then, of course, when we see the judge give somebody a probation or home confinement, that's a home run. That's what we're looking for. That's what's going to get showcased on the website. But let's be real. when you go out there and you hire a company for anything and they're showcasing the best case scenario, what they're not showing you is, well, this is the worst case scenario and this is the average case scenario. Our average client does not get home confinement. Our average client does not get probation. And if you find somebody out there that's claiming that, I would be real cautious and leery of what they're telling you. I believe there's more bullshitters out there than people that are actually trying to help and do the right thing. This is not an easy industry to be in. I'll tell you that. It's more cutthroat than I ever thought it could be. When I got into this industry, I was so excited because I was like, oh, I get to give back and I get to do good and I get to share my experiences on YouTube. If you guys go back and watch my early videos, you'll see what was going on in those videos, and you'll see my enthusiasm and my lack of professionalism. But I was having fun with it. I loved what I did. And I don't ever want to get to a point where I don't enjoy it. So the only way I can do that is to talk to you guys about what this industry really is. Maybe we'll do a whole video on that one time, but it's cutthroat. There's a couple of really good individuals in the industry, but then there's a bunch of bad apples that kind of ruin it for everybody else because they overpromise, they underdeliver, they go out and get themselves indicted in federal cases for promising people they're going to get into RDAP and helping people manipulate the system to get into RDAP. Doesn't work that way. So what can you actually do? What differences can you make as a defendant? How can you hold your attorney more accountable? What should you be working on? And when you hire somebody like us, when you hire a prison consultant, you really want to hire us sooner than later, because the more time we have with you, the better the chances of creating the outcome. To start on your personal narrative and reference letters, we really like to see what you got going on in your plea deal, or at least to see a plea deal that's potentially being offered to you so we can kind of get a direction in what it is that you're actually pleading out to. Many of you will tell me, well, I'm going to be pleading guilty to this. But until you actually have the plea deal in front of you, you don't want to accidentally make a mistake and start talking about something in a personal narrative, or your family or friends start talking about something in a reference letter that is completely off the beaten path, or talking about something that you're not even pleading guilty to. Potentially opens up doors, and maybe your attorney is not checking these, maybe he's not going through these. And a lot of the times, the reason why attorneys probably don't want you to submit a personal narrative to a probation officer for the pre-sentence interview, which we'll talk about in a minute, is because I was reading something. Because he hasn't actually read it and doesn't know what's in it. And the last thing he wants to do is get a call from the probation officer going, what the hell did your client just submit? So many attorneys, in my opinion, will ride the side of caution. They would rather not take any additional chances, because if they're going into waters that are uncharted to them, then they're taking on a lot of risk, which I can totally understand and totally respect. However, when you're hiring a consultant, this is what we focus on. We focus on prepping you for the pre-sentence interview. Like Daniel just said, prepping you for the pre-sentence interview isn't just going to tell you these are the questions they're going to ask. There's general questions they're going to go over, the basics, but how you conduct yourself in that interview, how you walk into that interview, what you bring with you to that interview. And many people tell me, my attorney didn't mention this to me, or my attorney didn't tell me about the letters until we brought it up and you brought it up to your attorney. Then your attorney all of a sudden is like, well, yeah, we're going to take care of that. Well, when? When is the right time to start preparing? Your mindset, and I couldn't think of a thumbnail today. I was thinking of all kinds of thumbnails. And, your positive mindset, your thoughts of releasing back into the community and getting out of prison really need to start right now. Starting now and focusing on what you're willing to do now to put those chess pieces into play. So 6 months down the road, or a year down the road, or 2 years down the road, you're going to have yourself in a situation to where what you're doing right now is going to also pay off then. So there's a couple of different aspects of what you want to look at. Of course, you want to do everything you can do to mitigate as much on the front end, to assist your attorney with providing your attorney with additional information, with asking your attorney the right questions in order to receive the best possible sentence, whether it's probation or a shortened sentence, or a combination of probation and home confinement and a shorter sentence. You've got all of these factors. And if you don't prepare right now, and you don't know what you're doing right now, and you don't know the importance of a personal narrative, you don't know the importance of a character reference letter, just because you found 500 people to write you a character reference letter, and now you're thinking, well, I'm just going to bombard the judge with letters, and he's going to see my overwhelming support and cheerleaders in the background and friends and priests and, we're going to have the governor come on down because my dad knows the governor, my dad's friends with the sheriff, and I'm going to get all these people of power to come in and, press their weight. Very, very, very rarely will you ever see that work. And more likely what you'll see happen from that is it have an adverse effect. You'll see the judge think that you're trying to manipulate the system and that you're trying to influence with your friends of power to receive a better sentence. And trust me when I tell you, 99% of the time, the judge is going to see right through that. So your best course of action is integrity, honesty, doing the right thing for the right reasons. Finding people that in your circle, maybe your mother, your father, your wife, your husband, your teenage daughter, your best friend. You want to stick to personal references, people that have an intimate relationship to you, that can talk about how this affected them, how it's affecting you, but not from oh, poor you point of view, or you're such a victim, or you didn't mean to do this, you made a mistake. When you guys sign that plea deal, you've signed the plea deal. You can't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It doesn't work that way. It's not a movie. That's right, Daniel. It's not a movie, guys. You're not going to have this point in your situation where you're going to be talking in front of the judge and you're going to give this great speech. Then the music's going to play and the lights are going to dim and everybody's going to shed a tear. You're more than likely going to have a judge going, yeah, I get it. I've heard this before. This is exactly what I thought you were going to do. You have to create a different outlook if you want to receive a different outcome. And this is why you'll hear many attorneys will tell you in different situations, you're not going to get self-surrender on this. They're definitely going to remand you. The judge doesn't give anybody a probation. The judge doesn't depart for anybody. And when you start hearing this, when you start hearing these things, these are self-defeating terms that somebody's telling you. It starts giving you reasons to not even want to try, because putting the effort and the work into this is work, and it's effort. It's exactly that. And we're all internally going to look for an excuse for why we're not doing it. If you've been in this process now for weeks, months, some of you years, and there's more that you could have been doing, it's a real hard mountain to climb when there's more that you could have done and you didn't do it. And instead of just saying, I could have done more, many of us will make excuses to why we didn't do it. Well, this judge, from what I read, doesn't go easy on anybody. This prosecutor is just out to get me. It's because I'm this color or that color. They're out to get me. Look, there's a little bit of truth in everything. Do we know, are there racists out there? Absolutely. Are they going to hit minorities harder? Possibly. But does that necessarily mean that that's what's going to happen to you? We had one of our clients a while back ago, and we've actually went and saw him in New York. Awesome guy. That was one of his biggest concerns. And his wife's biggest concerns was he was going to get flayed because he was a young black man. And there was going to be no love for him from this old white judge. And the reality is that very well could have been the truth. But when we were able to connect with him and say, look, even if that's true, if you go in there with that attitude, and the letters that they were going to submit were pretty much of that substance, if you submit anything like that, trust me when I tell you, it's not going to go over well on you. And we were able to get them to refrain from that and stay focused on the facts, not assuming all of this assumption of what was going to happen, and said, let's stick with what we got to work with and let's shoot for the stars, land on the moon, get as close as we can. And he ended up getting probation. Never thought he was going to get it in a million years. Attorney told him it was impossible, and he received probation. We've had situations happen like that a few times, guys, where we've had clients receive probation. There's no magic wand. There's no magic pill. It all requires hard work, effort, you putting in the time, you answering the questions. We're going to do as much of the work as we can for you, but you're going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. We have questionnaires that we ask you to fill out. We're going to do interview processes with many of you. The reason why we do this is we want to get you going down the right path. We don't want to tell you what to say, but we want to know what you want to say. And we want to be able to shape it and give you some feedback and say, saying this probably could trigger this kind of response. And if you look at consequences in life, any type of consequences, if you look at a potential consequence and the consequence, the adverse side of a consequence can outweigh any of the positivity of what might be coming your way, those are things that you generally probably want to stay away from. So if you know you're going to be taking some kind of a risky shot or saying something at court, and you say to yourself, well, if it goes bad, this could be the worst case scenario, you might not want to do it. And this is where you really have to weigh out your options. You have to understand the waters you're swimming in, because we see people do some of the dumbest things, including myself. If you would have saw me prior to all of this, getting ready to go to prison, it was shit show. That's an understatement. I was so terrified, so out of my league, didn't know what I was doing, and really believed that the judge was just somehow going to have sympathy for me because I was a father, and I didn't commit some violent crime, and I'd been on pretrial now for almost 3 years, working, staying out of trouble. I thought all of these things were going to make a difference, and maybe it did make a little bit of a difference. The government wanted the probation officer recommended, I think it was 47 or 48 months, and the judge downward departed to 42 months. At the same time, the judge told me it was the most heinous crime he'd ever seen while he was on the bench, knowing that the same judge had actually sentenced people to death before. So I do believe when you hear your judge really drill you home, sometimes that might just be for him really wanting to give you a lecture and really wanting you to think about what you've done. I don't know that they always necessarily mean it when they say this is the worst crime they've ever seen. My crime was bad. Don't get me wrong. I justified at the time. My crime was bad. And for those of you that don't know what I did, I worked for a doctor, and the doctor was overprescribing pain medication. I turned a blind cheek to the doctor doing the overprescribing. Knew it was happening. Patients were driving from out of state to see the doctor. I knew a lot of these drugs were getting back out onto the street, but I would just justify it by saying, well, I'm not the one writing the prescriptions. If the doctor's going to do this, whatever, I'm just working here. I'm just the office manager. Meanwhile, it puts me part of the conspiracy. I knew exactly what was going on, and I refused to report it. And I took the job knowing this, knowing what I know now. I would never do it again. And when I see places like this getting shut down to this day, doctors' offices and pain clinics, it blows my mind that they don't know the danger that they're in. It seems like it's so obvious once you've been there and you look back. It's very easy to get caught in a web, guys. You see a lot of tax crime, tax fraud, people not reporting monies to the IRS. We've had a lot of clients lately that's their situation. And I know everybody falls on tough times. Everybody makes mistakes. We've had clients that have, basically gone under the pretense of it's not American to pay taxes. It's unjust. I shouldn't have to do it. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong, but you're never going to win that argument with the government. I don't care how much money you have to spend. I don't care who your attorney is, unless it's just a major profile case and the media is watching and the media is supporting you, you're going to get flayed. You absolutely are going to get gutted, opened up, and turned inside out. So you really need to think about what it is that is most important to you. Is it holding your ground and saying you're right and potentially serving a very long sentence and being taken away from your family? Or is it mitigating and doing and realizing there are some things that you could have done different to avoid the situation that you're in? When you become a client of ours, it's not just so we can help you shorten your sentence. It's accountability. We got to get you on track of taking responsibility for what you did, unless you're not signing a plea deal. If you're not signing a plea deal, in many cases, we may not be the best fit for you. If you are signing a plea deal and you're saying you did something, you can't say you did it on a piece of paper, but tell everybody else you didn't do it. It's not going to work. It's not going to allow you to get into the right mindset. It's not going to allow you to own up to it. It's not going to allow you to take the right responsibility. And it's sure not going to let you do the work that we need you to do. Many of you that are going through this, engaging in right now, community service is real tough. I know a few of you are waiting on a couple phone calls for some of the community service links that we have that you're able to do from home. And that's something that I had an issue with it this week, and we just got it fixed. So that should be all back up and running within the next day or so. But these things make what you're doing with your free time right now really makes a major difference as well, because when a judge looks at you and says, okay, sure, you stayed out of trouble, but what have you been doing with your free time that's so different than what everybody else is doing with their free time? And usually what we see people doing is maintaining a job. They think community service is just going to be going out and going to the church and picking up garbage or feeding the homeless. That's great. You're giving back to your community. But again, that's what everybody else is doing. So what can you do to go above and beyond that? Coming up with a game plan and a roadmap to what's going to give you the best opportunity for success. These are all the things that you need to start tracking. You need to start thinking about changing your ways now and understand, I get it. You want to do everything you can to receive a better sentence. But when you start doing a lot of these mind-changing activities, what you'll learn starts happening. You start feeling better about who you are. You start making better choices. You start actually being regretful for what you did. You start seeing how the mistakes that you made, and you start seeing where the thinking actually came from. You stop lying to yourself. You stop saying, well, I did this because I had to provide for my family, or I didn't do this because I had to provide for my family. You start realizing that I did it because I didn't want to pay my bills. I didn't want to pay my taxes right away. I figured I could just make the money next month. I didn't know how to budget my money. We all have an excuse for why we didn't do what we did. And nobody likes paying taxes. Nobody. I've been paying my taxes like clockwork since I've started doing this, because the last thing I need is IRS knocking on my door saying, hey, we remember you. Pretty sure you did some federal prison time, and I'm pretty sure we could send you back with no problem. So I don't want to get put into the scope or the grasp, especially not every single one of my videos is flattering to the government or to the U.S. Attorney's Office or to state offices. So knowing that I'm out there sometimes slinging some mud, I need to make sure that I'm not exposing myself by being cavalier and thinking that I'm above some system, because I'm absolutely not. I've seen individuals become indicted for something that was legal today that next year is no longer legal, and they come back and say, well, you were doing this then, even though it's illegal now, we're still going to go back to prior when you were doing it. And you've seen indictments fall on people for things like this. It's not hard to get wrapped up in the scope of something that you don't want to be a part of. So if you want that opportunity for the best possible outcome, and you want something like a probated sentence or a reduced sentence or the possibility of something like home confinement, you have to be willing to go above and beyond and realize that you're probably not going to be able to do it by yourself. You may not get the absolute best advice from an attorney when it comes to what you're doing in addition to working on your plea deal. When you start talking about your letters, your narratives, reference letters, PSR preparation, RDAP, so many of you are so concerned about RDAP, and I get it, because that potentially can give you a year off of your sentence. How that gets articulated and worded into your PSR, date ranges, date frames, documented supporting documentation to go along with it. Once that PSR is done and you don't have that proper information, it might be too late. You might miss that boat. And this is something that maybe your attorney did or didn't go over with you, but there needs to be details with it. There needs to be an explanation. It needs to be spelled out. That interview is so important. If people understood how important the PSR interview was, and if they understood that 30-minute interview with probation can really make or break the directions that they're going to go in, knowing what type of recommendation you want to ask for on the prison that you want to go to. Why do you want to go to a specific prison? Just because it's close to your home? Are you looking at the programming that's available? Are you looking at what type of halfway house that the warden at this prison typically allows to be taken? There's so many different things to look at and moving parts that if you're just trying to lump it all up into a quick 30-minute search on Google, and you're basing your assumptions on all of your quick Google searches, you're probably going to have an outcome that's less desirable. This is why we've been so blessed with bringing Tom Root as part of the team, because Tom Root really is an expert above experts. This guy knows so much information, and he's so humble about it. He stays very respectful. He doesn't get a big head about it, but the guy's constantly researching, and he absorbs this information and retains it like a sponge. It's amazing the amount of the wealth of information that Tom Root is able to just spell off at the top of his tongue. Many of you that have heard him, talked to him on the phone, have had consultations with him that are now clients of ours, you can all attest to the same thing. Every attorney that we've got Tom on the line with, especially when it comes to something like compassionate release or something through the CARES Act, creating pathways of what's the best reason to try to get a family member home, especially when it's not easily spelled out. Not everybody is sitting in prison with, horrible asthma. There are other individuals that have other reasons that until you have a conversation with us, you may not even know that you have a valid reason for potentially qualifying for something like compassionate release. Again, here's links again, and they're also in the description of the video. There you go. Oh, that's mine. Let me give you Tom's link. Here we go. Yeah, I found this new software that I'm loving called StreamYard to do my live streams with. It makes it way easier than what I was doing before. It just smoother, less headaches. So cheers to you, StreamYard. So has anybody got anything else going on? How's everybody dealing with COVID-19? You guys getting back into the swing of things? We got our beaches. They opened back up today officially, South Florida. So all our beaches were open today. I've been trying to get back into a good fitness routine, which has been a challenge. You know, I'm not going to lie, fell off there for a little while, but I've been really working on it really hard and trying to stay away from the weights, trying to do a lot of outdoor stuff, not just running, but a lot of prison workouts, to say the least. I really like doing the prison workouts, burpees and push-ups and pull-ups. Scott Johnson, guys, this is the guy right here. Scott Johnson is the one that did an interview with me on Friday. I can't wait, Scott. I'm going to go talk about it in the Facebook room. But guys, Scott Johnson, he interviewed me a couple weeks ago, and I've been interviewed by a bunch of different individuals, some amateur, some professional. So I had no idea what to expect when Scott interviewed me. And I'm going to tell you, Scott probably did as good as anybody else ever could have done, if not better than anybody that's done an interview with me. I was really impressed with his level of questions, and he did some research. He kind of came into it prepared. He knew exactly what questions to ask. So I've never been excited to really hear one of my podcasts. Usually I was like, I don't want to hear it. I hate hearing myself talk. I mean, the reality is I love hearing myself talk because I have a little bit of an ego. That's probably why I have a YouTube channel. But Scott made it a lot of fun. So thank you, Scott. I can't wait. I'd love to bring you on the channel, Scott. And you know, there's a lot of people out there that probably have some stories. Scott, what's the name of your podcast again? It's I can't think of the term in my mind. Scott will post it in here in a second. But a lot of you probably have stories that could be on Scott's podcast. So as soon as Scott posts it there, you guys can copy that and go Google it. Healthcare. What are we talking about, Dan? I wonder if any more. Hey, Angela, how are you doing? What was that like? So here, guys, I just posted it in the room there, and you can see it on the live. So Scott Johnson's podcast is What Was That Like? And you know what? Let's see if we can. Here, we're going to go pull up Scott's website real quick. I'll show you guys. Here it is. All right, so let's go share the screen. So this is Scott's podcast right here. And you can see the website is whatwasthatlike.com. Very, very, he's got some awesome stories on there, some awesome interviews that he's done. I found him on a Facebook page, or he found me on a Facebook page on some podcast channel. And it was phenomenal to listen to some of the stuff that he talks about. We're talking some serious stories, guys. Some of the stuff, mine's getting, I mean, look, I'm excited to hear mine, but there's some really, really good ones out there. But many of you, you know, what was that like? Many of you that have been charged with different crimes and what you've gone through and how it's destroyed your family, you know, what was that like? Great name for a podcast. So guys, feel free. This is his information here. It's the contact. Well, just go to his website and there's a contact form that you can fill out right there. And you know, maybe you've got a story that Scott would like to like to have you on. So I think I had more fun doing that podcast than I've had in a long time. So thank you again, Scott. Can't wait to hear it. But yeah, tools, internet, podcast, YouTube channels, guys, you're getting ready to go to prison. Many of you are going to be coming home and you're going to think nothing else is ever going to matter. No one's going to hire me. I'm not going to be dateable. You've got all of these roadblocks. And I'm telling you, your life can go in so many different directions because there's so much asset and tools out there now. And really, prison reform is on a marching drive to bringing awareness. Companies are probably being forced right now to hire prisoners. So it's not like what it was years and years and years ago where it was as taboo. It's become a very public forum to hear, success stories after prison. And success stories are becoming more available to hear. There's more and more success stories every day. So there's no reason in the world why anyone watching this channel right now can't become their own success story. You do not have to be defined by the actions that you're going through right now. You can completely redefine who you are. And if anybody's telling you can't do that, it's up to you to block out that noise and just realize that, use that as your coal to go in your fire. Every time somebody tells you, no, you can't do it, make that a reason to try harder. And shit, maybe you won't get there, but die trying. People told me I wouldn't get into RDAP. They told me I wouldn't get additional halfway house time. They told me I wouldn't get off home confinement early. All of these things that I wasn't going to be able to do. And, I pretty much accomplished every single goal that I had. When I popped into the prison consulting world, when I came onto this space and I was told by other consultants that you don't have what it takes, you're not a white collar guy, you're only going to be able to appeal to a certain type of individual. They made it to the point where if I were to listen to anything that they were saying, I would have packed my bags, sold my camera, and went back to doing whatever I was doing. And here we are from 2000, the end of 15, 16 to right now. It is now a thriving business. It provides income for families. We've changed thousands of people's lives. And if I had listened to the naysayers, I wouldn't be where I am today. So use my story to help fuel the energy of what you need to hear. Not every single person is going to do something with their life. It does take hard work, effort, and dedication, and you have to be willing to dig yourself through the trenches and realize, I rode the bus for a long time when I got out of prison. I didn't have a license, didn't have a place to live. I didn't have any money, but I still knew that what I was doing, posting these little videos on YouTube, something about it felt so right. And every time somebody used to tell me, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And I said, look, even if it doesn't turn into a job or income never comes from it, I'm doing the right thing. People are gathering information from this. People are going through the hardest period of their entire life right now, and they're finding my content valuable and causing their nerves to reduce, and they're sleeping again at night. They're telling me that this is changing their lives. Seeing the text messages that I've been receiving over the years and the random emails that I receive over the years, not just the individuals that hire me, but I'm talking about people that I've never spoken to before, just random emails about thank you for your content. I'm so happy I came across this. And not just people that are getting ready to go to prison. This is family members of people that are in prison, mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and children. It's really opened up a new door for me to see that there's so many people out there that all felt like they were alone going through something by themselves. And this really brought a community of like-minded individuals together, which helped us come up with the whole people up and people communities method. I did steal that from my RDAP class, I'm not going to lie. What's up, Jamie? Yes, absolutely. Because I was committed, and commitments are hard. Hey, Giovanni, how you doing? Well, anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I got for tonight. I'm not going to blab you off too much there. It's the coffee talking now. It's no longer important content. Now we're talking about COVID-19 and exercising, but you should get out there and exercise tomorrow. Get up tomorrow morning, make your bed, brush your teeth, get off on the right foot, and go get some exercise in. You'll feel better. All right, guys. Well, I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time Consulting. People up and people, communities method, one day at a time. If there's anything I can do for you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel And also don't forget to text the word YouTube to 76626. That'll put you on our text message notification list. As you can see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen. I absolutely love StreamYard. Go check out StreamYard.com if you want to start a YouTube channel and you want to live stream like a damn professional. Check it out. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for you guys tonight. Hope you have an amazing evening. I'll probably be back Wednesday with Tom Root. He's got some brand new information to talk about, all about compassionate release, some really interesting things that they're trying to pass another stimulus bill. And I think Tom is under the impression that it's going to be really good for some of the federal inmates. So if you guys stay tuned for that Wednesday night, hope you guys have a great evening. I can help you with Spanish speakers. Hey, Alan Scott, welcome from Cincinnati. Jamie, send me an email. My email's, if you look at the top of the screen there, Dan at Federal Prison Time. I'd love to hear what you got going on. All right, guys, have a great night. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm going to go finish my coffee and bounce off the walls probably till 3 a.m. Thinking about you guys. All right, love you all. Have a great night. Peace.